Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanakkam, Namo Namaha, Jai Ganesha. Please visit our website at classicalyoga.org, and there is a donate button if you'd like to help us out. Today's podcast, Fly Like the Birds, Then Soar Like an Eagle. Humans have always had a fascination with flight. Could this be an innate psychological state of just wanting to be free? Hindus call this Moksha, freedom, Kaivalya, liberation. To be a free spirit. To allow your imagination to soar. Remember back when you were a child, a young kid? Look at young children now and just enjoy the imagination, that inspiration that just pours forth as they seek unlimited freedom in life at that age. And it's not a coincidence that in all cultures there's always been superheroes. I know personally Superman was my priority as a young little boy. In fact, I had my mother make a costume for me. And I used to go out on the second-story window and stand on the roof, cape furled in the wind, actually praying to fly. And I'm sure many of you can relate to this same experience. And many also gravitate towards activities that have a sense of soaring or flying, literally getting a pilot's license and flying, hang gliders, skiing, surfing. These are all kind of flying sports. In order to fly in life, though, F-L-Y, first learn yama, or restraint. In other words, first we have to learn the rules and the regulations and the rituals in order to fly through life. Again, think of the different sports that you have to learn all the fundamentals. Think of getting your pilot's license. Just having a sense of ultimate freedom in life as we grow and take care of our material wants so that we can have a sense of freedom. This means that we follow and learn the rules and regulations of life. Watch the migratory birds, for example. They naturally help each other out. They form a V. Let's think of V for a moment, especially the V in English for victory. And V is also the peace sign when you hold up the first and the second fingers. So it means both victory and peace, or victory through peace. In the Hindu yoga religion, this mudra is actually called Vismaya, which means astonishment, the awesomeness of achieving a sense of victory and freedom. Now, if we eventually want to solo, become like the eagle. Actually, that's Vishnu's Vahana, Garuda, being a lone flyer. Remember the book in the 70s, Jonathan Livingston Seagull? To become a lone flyer in life, to have that freedom, we must first understand the society that we live in. Follow the basic rules and regulations and rituals that the migratory birds show us. In this way, the individual helps the group, and the group helps the individual. So from childhood, we have that sense of freedom, and then as we become young adults, we learn the practicality of life, the rules, the regulations, and rituals that will ultimately take us to another sense of freedom. And obviously, as Hindus, our ultimate freedom is realizing the inner Atmana, soul, if you will. It's a bit different. The inner essence of love, light, and energy, Jyoti Shakti, Ananda Shanti, Satchit Ananda. This is what we mean by the ultimate Kaivalya or Moksha freedom. Freedom from thinking we're just a body, mind, and emotions. But again, this starts with understanding the rules and the regulations of life. This is what religions are all about. Communities getting together, helping individuals to get together, to achieve that ultimate freedom, to become like the soaring eagle. So very interestingly, in the fall of the year, in the North American hemisphere, of course, you can see the migratory birds. And you can watch the Canadian geese as they fly north and form a beautiful V formation as they travel on to their ultimate destination. We can also look at the V upside down, obviously, as a spear point, like Muruga's spear, Skanda's spear, which represents going up the human spine through the chakras, piercing through into the freedom of the Sahasrara chakra. So here's something that was reprinted from the Saturday Evening Post in 2005. It was actually written by a Reverend Irvin G. Rurda. And he's talking about the facts of the life of the Canadian geese, and how they form these wonderful formations to get to their ultimate destination. So let's go through this. He goes fact 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the learned life lessons from them. Very profound. Fact 1. As each Canadian goose flaps its wings, it creates uplift for the birds that follow. And by flying in a V formation, the whole flock adds 71% greater flying range and is able to fly 75% faster than if each bird flew alone. Lesson. People who share a common direction and sense of community can get where they're going quicker and easier because they're traveling on the thrust of one another, i.e. religion. Fact 2. Whenever a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of flying alone. It quickly moves back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the other birds immediately in front of it. Lesson. If we have as much sense as a goose, we stay in formation with those headed where we want to go. We're willing to accept their help and to give help to others. Fact 3. When the lead goose tires, it rotates back into the formation and another goose flies into the point position. Lesson. It pays to take turns doing the hard tasks and sharing leadership. As with geese, people are interdependent of each other's skills, capabilities, and unique arrangements of gifts, talents, or resources. Fact 4. The Canadian geese flying in formation honk to encourage those up front to keep up their speed. Lesson. We need to make sure our honking is encouragement. In a group where there is encouragement, the production is always much greater. Fact 5. When a goose gets sick, wounded, or shot, 2 other geese always drop out of formation and follow it down to help or protect it. They will stay with it either until it dies or is able to fly again. Then they launch out with another formation and catch up with the flock. Lesson. If we have as much sense as a goose, we will stand by each other in difficult times. Very profound and powerful life lessons for the individual helping the group and the group helping the individual. Obviously here we are Hindus and we follow the Hindu yoga Dharma. So at Dharma Yoga Ashram, the classical yoga Hindu academy, we've developed many podcasts that you may find very illuminating. And one is about the Hindu 12-step program we developed. We'll go over it a little bit here. Now 12-step programs, they're designed to help people recover from various addictions. Obviously, in most cases from alcohol and drug addictions, but also other addictions also. Now, true religion is about helping us all to recover from the addiction that we think we're just a body, mind, and emotions, or we just think we have this one temporary life to live. So to that end, we developed a Hindu 12-step program. And all of these words, when they're written in English, start with the letter V. Remember, V for victory, and also V for peace, and Vismaya astonishment, awesomeness. So following these 12 V's, or victory formulas, will greatly enhance one's everyday life experience and perhaps lead to a greater sense of freedom. So let's go over this 12-step program and listen carefully because many of the words sound very similar, these Sanskrit Hindu words. Vrata, Vitarka, Vichara, Vivek, Viryam, Virya, Virya, Viraja, Vira, Vajra, Viru, Virat. Vrata. These are vows. What's the difference between a vow and a promise? Well, we want to try to keep our promises for sure, but sometimes we have to break them. But a vow has a legally binding nature to it, like a marriage vow, a military vow, monastic vows, for example, religious vows. And the reason there is a legal binding to it, the vows that physicians take, for example, because we're in charge of other people's welfare, and we can't simply break those vows. The marriage vow, for example, we're in charge of the potential offspring. Military vow, you're in charge of protecting the nation. So there's a legal bindingness to vows, something we should really deeply think about before we make them. Once we make them, we need to commit and stick. Vrata. And then what do? We make a vow, vrata, to exercise vitarka, vichara, vivek. Reason, judgment, discrimination. Actually, in the Yoga Sutras of the Saiva Hindu Guru Patanjali, vitarka and vichara, reason and judgment, are the first two signs of samadhi. Samadhi is calm wisdom. Remember, wisdom is the ability to discern or recognize difference, not sameness, using reason and judgment. Judgment is the ability to make wise decisions. So these are the two signposts also of samadhi and the way to them. Exercise reason or logic and judgment. Vitarka, vichara. So much for those who say do not judge, which is a very naive statement and actually is a judgment. Then vivek. Vivek is discrimination. Discriminating between what is false and what is true. Asato ma sadgamaya. From unreal to real. Exercising wise discrimination, of course, avoiding negative, hurtful discriminations. Vivek. This is where Swami Vivekananda got his name from. He's infamous for neti, this intellectual process of discriminating between the unreal and the real. Then viryam, stop. Virya, the passions. In other words, stop abusing the passions. And then become a strong virya, accomplished viraja, warrior, vira. And actually in the Hatha Yoga of Hinduism, we have a virasana, or a warrior pose. When you sit with your legs curled under, you're sitting on your heels. And then we will enter into viru and virat. So now as a warrior, vira, we become or develop a backbone, vajra, and then we roar with radiance, viru, virat. So vrata, making a vow, to exercise vitarka, vichara, vivek, reason, judgment, discrimination. Then we stop viryam, abusing the passions, virya, and then we become a strong virya, accomplished viraja, warrior, vira, with a backbone, vajra, and then we roar with radiance, viru, virat. And interestingly, also in the Hatha Yoga of Hinduism, remember, Hatha Yoga was never meant to be on open display. It's been totally distorted today. But we have an asana, vajrasana, or thunderbolt pose. The thunderbolt stands for your spine, vajra. And it actually is associated with Indra from the Rig Veda. And it's when you lay on your back and you arch your spine up. So the spine is the thunderbolt inside, the kundalini. So, vrata, vitarka, vichara, vivek, viryam, virya, viraja, vira, vajra, viru, virat. Make a vow to exercise reason, judgment, discrimination, stop abusing the passions, then become a strong, accomplished warrior with a backbone, then you will roar with radiance. Speaking of roaring, we also have a Hatha Yoga Asana Narasimhasana, the half man, half lion pose, when we roar with radiance. A wonderful 12-step program to incorporate into our life in general, and certainly into our Hindu religious life. Because let's look at the opposite here. If we can't keep not only promises and vows, right, but we just can't keep our word at all. If we don't exercise reason, if we become unreasonable, if we have poor judgment, if we don't know how to discriminate between what's false and what's true, if we can't stop abusing the passions, we become weak and unaccomplished and basically a coward. And then instead of having a backbone, we're spineless, and instead of roaring with radiance, we whimper in dullness. So this comes from understanding our role in the everyday life, our role with family and friends and society at large, to be that strong warrior, an individual warrior within the group. If we do this, then one day we may be able to solo fly and become like Garuda, the eagle. And in the Hindu yoga, religious, spiritual, scientific, philosophical lifestyle, we have several deities that we look at as role models of what it is to be a youthful, loving warrior. We must do all three: youthful, loving warrior. If we're a warrior without love, then we just become a brute. And the warrior spirit brings out the youth in us no matter what the physical age. So we look to Skanda Muruga, the warrior, youthful, loving warrior. We look to Hanumanji, the youthful, loving warrior, the epitome of karma yoga and bhakti yoga. We look to Sri Krishna, youthful, loving warrior. And for the Matajis, we look to Durga Ma, youthful, loving warrior. So fly with the birds, fly with your flock. You know, we all have to choose in life. Actually, remember the Karate Kid 1? This was Daniel-san's first lesson from Miyagi-san. First, you have to choose. Choose your way in life. Choose your mate, perhaps. Choose your profession. Choose your religion. Follow along. Follow the rules and regulations. And this will lead to ultimately flying solo. As we join in this dance of life, collectively and individually, looking at the dancing Shiva, dance, prance, send us into a trance, pirouette on our worldliness, spinning it out of sight. Let us join hands and dance, round and round we go, never stopping. Love is the only thing we know. So follow this 12-step program, and let's recover from the many delusions of life as we go from untruth to truth, humbly admit our ignorance as we move to an ever more enlightened state, ultimately finding the internal nectar of the Atmana, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya, om shanti, shanti, shanti.